Okay, so let's be honest here. It feels like everywhere you turn these days, it's all about the entrepreneur as hero narrative. Social media especially loves those rags to riches stories.
It's true. Hustle culture is definitely having a moment.
Right. But here's the thing, it's easy to forget that only about 9% of Americans are actually self-employed.
That's a really small percentage when you think about it.
It is. So in this deep dive, we're kind of flipping the script. We're going to explore what it means to be a truly valuable employee and why that's something worth celebrating.
I like that. It's definitely a perspective we don't hear enough about. It's so easy to get caught up in that romanticized vision of entrepreneurship, but it's so important to understand what it really takes.
Absolutely. And that's where our source material comes in. We've got some great research that dives into the, shall we say, less glamorous realities behind all that glamorized grind we see online.
It's not all private jets and beachside laptops. Far from it, actually.
So no more perfectly curated Instagram feeds for us.
Well, maybe not. The source really highlights the 247 demands of running your own business. That constant pressure and responsibility can be all-consuming.
It makes you wonder about those rise and grind posts, doesn't it? Like, how much sleep are these people actually getting?
All right, and then there's the financial side of things. The source talks about the instability, the constant fear of failure, even the potential for isolation. Those are pretty heavy burdens to carry.
Yeah, I mean, imagine pouring your heart and soul, not to mention your savings, into a venture and then,
And then realizing the market just isn't ready for your brilliant idea, or that your timing was off. Or maybe it just comes down to plain old luck, which, as we all know, you can't really control.
it's a reality check for sure. And it's not to say that entrepreneurship isn't rewarding, but it's crucial to go into it with eyes wide open, right?
Absolutely. It's about having a realistic understanding of the challenges and the factors that contribute to success, or lack thereof.
Now, before anyone thinks we're on an anti-entrepreneur rant, let's be clear, we're simply aiming for a balanced perspective.
Right? Entrepreneurship can be amazing, but we also want to acknowledge the incredible value that employees bring to the table. Businesses wouldn't function without dedicated, skilled employees, would they?
Absolutely not. Our source really emphasizes that. A strong workforce is the backbone of any successful organization. It's all about teamwork, specialized skills, each person contributing their unique strengths to achieve those shared goals.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's fascinating how our source points out that a stable income and benefits can actually empower employees to be more effective in their roles.
Okay, unpack that a little. I'm intrigued.
Think about it. When you have that financial security, you're not constantly stressed about making rent or dealing with unexpected medical bills. It frees up your mental energy to truly focus on your work.
It's like having that safety net allows you to take risks, be more creative, and invest in your skills without that make or break pressure that entrepreneurs often face.
Precisely. And that peace of mind can lead to greater job satisfaction and ultimately increased productivity. It's a win-win for both the employee and the company.
Okay, so now I'm really seeing how there's so much more to being a valuable employee than meets the eye.
Right. And get this, our source breaks it all down into 6 key categories.
Ooh, that's where I think things are going to get really interesting. We're about to get into the nuts and bolts of what makes a great employee tick.
I'm excited to dive in. These aren't just vague ideas either. These categories offer a really practical roadmap for anyone looking to excel in their role or even explore new career paths.
Love it. All right, so let's jump right in and see what those key attributes are all about.
Let's do it. What I find so insightful is that we're not just talking about abstract qualities. We're going to see how these attributes actually show up in your day-to-day work.
Let's get practical. All right, so we've got these 6 categories ready to unlock the secrets of the exceptional employee.
Right, like a treasure chest of valuable attributes just waiting to be opened.
I like that analogy. Okay, first up, reliability and responsibility. I feel like this one's pretty fundamental.
Oh, absolutely. It's the bedrock, isn't it? You can't really
Yeah.
build anything without it.
Exactly. We touched on punctuality earlier, but our source also talks about the importance of being prepared.
Coming to the table ready to contribute, having all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, like showing up to a potluck, but instead of a casserole, you're bringing, I don't know, a well-researched presentation.
I love it. And, it's not just about being prepared for your own tasks. The source also talks about anticipating needs, taking initiative.
So being a step ahead, seeing those potential roadblocks before they trip everyone up.
Precisely. Like, imagine you're working on a project and realize a crucial piece of information is missing. Instead of waiting for someone to tell you what to do, You take the initiative.
You become the information detective.
Uh-huh, exactly. You track down what's missing, maybe reach out to the right people.
Keep the project moving forward, right?
You got it. It shows real ownership,
Hmm.
You're not just waiting for instructions, you're a problem solver.
I can see how that kind of proactive approach would make you stand out.
Absolutely. You become that go-to person someone people can rely on. All right, so moving on to our next category, work ethic and productivity.
Ah, yes, the get stuff done zone.
Right. But it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart, especially in today's world with all its distractions.
Oh, tell me about it. It's so easy to get sidetracked by all the notifications and shiny things vying for our attention.
It really is. So the source emphasizes being able to prioritize, set boundaries, create space for deep work.
So not just being busy for the sake of being busy, but really focusing on those high-impact tasks.
Exactly. And here's something that might surprise you. The source also talks about the importance of asking clarifying questions.
Really? I would think that might make you look like you don't know what you're doing.
It can feel that way, but think about it. Isn't it better to ask a question and get it right than make a costly mistake based on assumptions?
Yeah, that makes sense. Pride can be a stumbling block sometimes.
It can. And along those same lines, double-checking your work, it might seem tedious, but it shows that commitment to quality.
Whether it's proofreading, reviewing calculations, testing that code.
Those extra steps can make all the difference. You're not just trying to get it done. You're aiming for excellence.
Okay, on to communication and collaboration. I think this is where those people skills really come into play.
Oh, they're so vital, aren't they?
Ah.
Especially in a team setting. Our source actually gives a great example here, emphasizing active listening.
Like really hearing what your colleagues are saying, even if you don't initially agree with them.
It's about creating that space for open dialogue, where everyone feels heard and respected.
And you never know, you might actually change your mind when you truly listen to another perspective.
That happens more often than you think. Sometimes the most brilliant ideas come from the most unexpected places.
Right, like that saying, none of us is as smart as all of us. Okay, so active listening check. What else does the source highlight?
Ah, the art of providing constructive feedback. This is a tricky one, but so important.
It's that fine line between offering helpful suggestions and just criticizing, right?
Exactly. It's about framing it in a way that's supportive, respectful. And on the flip side, being open to receiving feedback, even when it's tough to hear.
Because ultimately it's about learning and growing. Even if the delivery isn't perfect, the message might contain a valuable nugget.
It often does. All right, now we're getting into the growth zone, adaptability, and growth. The source points out that seeking out challenging assignments can be a real game changer.
So embracing those opportunities to step outside your comfort zone.
Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's where the real magic happens. It's about expanding your skill set, taking on new responsibilities.
I could see how that would make you more valuable to an organization.
It absolutely does. The source even suggests that people who embrace challenges tend to advance more quickly in their careers.
Makes sense. You're showing you're not afraid to learn and grow. You're not just stuck in your lane.
Exactly. And it's not just about taking on challenges, it's also about actively seeking out feedback from various sources.
So not just your manager, but maybe colleagues, clients, even mentors outside of your company.
You got it. It helps you identify those blind spots, gain a more well-rounded understanding of your strengths and areas for improvement.
Okay, 2 more categories to go. Let's talk professionalism and integrity. This one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm sure there's more to it than meets the eye.
Always. The source highlights the importance of respecting boundaries, both in terms of personal space and work-life balance.
So being mindful of your colleagues' time, not bombarding them with requests after hours, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And equally important, setting those boundaries for yourself, knowing when to disconnect and recharge, avoiding burnout.
It's about recognizing that we're not machines. We need time to rest and recover to do our best work.
Precisely. And of course, there's the honesty and transparency piece. Being upfront about challenges, owning up to mistakes, avoiding even the appearance of dishonesty.
Because once that trust is broken, it can be really hard to rebuild it, right?
Yeah, it can. And that applies to even those seemingly small acts of dishonesty. They can have a ripple effect over time. All right, on to our final category, and I think it's a really exciting one, beyond the basics.
This is where we separate the good from the truly exceptional, right? I'm intrigued.
Absolutely. And one of the key qualities mentioned here is mentorship. Even if you're not in a formal leadership position, there are ways to mentor others.
Like maybe guiding newer employees, sharing your knowledge, being that friendly and approachable colleague.
Exactly. It's about paying it forward, helping others to grow and succeed.
And the beautiful thing about mentorship is that it benefits both sides, right?
It does. The mentee gains valuable insights, and the mentor gets to reflect on their experiences, refine their own skills.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is in this beyond the basics treasure chest?
Well, we've touched on it before, but the source also emphasizes the power of passion and enthusiasm. That genuine excitement for your work,
It's contagious, isn't it?
it really is. When you bring that energy to the table, it lifts everyone up.
And lastly, the source encourages employees to think beyond their immediate tasks.
To see the bigger picture, right? To look for ways to improve processes, maybe suggest new initiatives.
To be a proactive force for positive change within the organization.
Precisely. It's about taking ownership of the company's success as a whole.
Okay, so we've walked through all 6 categories. I feel like we've uncovered a ton of great insights.
We have. And I think it's clear that being a good employee is about so much more than just punching the clock.
It's about taking pride in your work, being a valuable team player, making a real contribution.
And it's about continuous learning and growth, always striving to be better.
Now, before we wrap things up completely, there's one more piece I'd love to explore, that sense of fulfillment we talked about earlier. How do we make sure our work isn't just a job, but something that truly resonates with us? It's like, how do we find that sweet spot where our work feels aligned with who we are and what we care about?
Well, the source encourages us to start with ourselves. It's all about figuring out those things that make us tick.
Like, what are we naturally drawn to? What gets us excited?
Exactly. The source talks about identifying those things we're good at, the tasks we actually enjoy doing. It's about figuring out your strengths and what you're truly passionate about.
So once you have a handle on those things, then what? How does that translate into finding the right career path?
Well, it becomes kind of a compass, right? You can start exploring different fields and roles that seem like a good fit for those skills and passions.
So maybe it's not about finding that one perfect dream job right away.
Right. The source makes a good point about that. It's more about trying things out, seeing what feels right and what doesn't.
So you might not hit the bullseye on the first try.
Exactly. There might be some trial and error involved. Maybe you explore different industries or even experiment with some side projects.
So you can kind of test the waters before diving in head first.
Exactly. It's about gathering those experiences, figuring out what you enjoy and what you don't. You learn along the way, even from the things that don't work out the way you expected.
Now, even if you do find a career path that you're happy with, the source emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and growth.
Oh, absolutely. It's so crucial to stay curious,
Yeah.
right? The world's constantly changing.
New technologies are popping up all the time, industries are evolving.
And if you don't keep learning, you risk falling behind.
So it's not enough to just get that degree or certification and call it a day.
Right. You got to stay engaged, whether it's reading industry publications, taking online courses, going to conferences.
Even just chatting with other people in your field?
Yeah, those conversations can be so insightful. It's all about keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening.
Now, we talked earlier about being a mentor, which is so valuable, but the source also highlights the importance of having mentors yourself.
Ah, yes. Mentors can be such a game changer.
It's like having that experienced guide to help you navigate the ups and downs of your career journey
They've been there, done that, right? They can offer advice, share their own experiences.
and encourage you when you're feeling stuck.
And sometimes a mentor can push you outside your comfort zone. That can be scary, but it's often where the real growth happens.
It's all about having someone in your corner who believes in your potential and wants to see you succeed.
Exactly. And those relationships can be so rewarding for both people involved. It's a two-way street.
So as you move forward in your career, think about how you can be that mentor for someone else. It's a great way to pay it forward.
Absolutely. It creates this beautiful cycle of learning and support.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. From debunking that entrepreneur as hero myth to unpacking those 6 categories of a valuable employee, and now exploring how to find that sense of fulfillment in our work. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. I feel like we've peeled back the layers and revealed so much about what it means to thrive as an employee.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's that one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the most important message is this. Being a good employee isn't about settling. It's not about just doing the bare minimum.
It's about bringing your best self to the table, being a valuable part of a team,
Making a real difference, finding meaning in what you do.
and feeling good about the work you're putting out into the world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own work experience and create something truly fulfilling.
So, to our amazing listeners, as you go about your week, think about those 6 key categories we discussed. Where do your strengths lie? What areas could you work on?
And remember, it's an ongoing journey. There's always room to learn and grow.
That's so true. So, keep striving for excellence, keep that passion alive, and never stop learning. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.